Hey everyone, welcome to today's lecture. In today's lecture, we're going to talk about a very interesting topic called ambush marketing. We talked about for this semester, we have break down the three parts. Right? First part will give you a brief idea what the marketing is. The second part of second module, we talk about the 4P strategy, including product, price, promotion, and place. The third part, we're going to talk about sports sponsorships. Previously, we talked about sports sponsorship, we talked about endorsement and naming right. So today we're going to talk about a very special topic that kind of related to sports sponsorship called ambush marketing. Before we introduce these topics, I want you to go and look at these pictures. When you look at these pictures, what would you think about? Right? You see a giant Nike soccer ball, right, crush a car. So from these very interesting, we say, marketing activities, and what message do you think Nike is trying to communicate with the audience? Right, some people would think they let people to get more attention about Nike's products, particularly soccer ball. Some people would think like they shows Nike's product of very good qualities. Right, so when people look at these kind of very interesting scenarios and on the street, so they're very likely to take the pictures and share it on social media and allowing more people to go and look at it. Right, so this is a very interesting strategies. This strategy has been considered in traditional marketing called guerrilla marketing. So guerrilla marketing is an advertising strategy that focus on low cost, unconventional marketing tactics that normally will create maximize results. So the idea of the term guerrilla marketing was starting from 1960s. Right, the word guerrilla initially has started from the militaries. So it was a Spanish word. First is equivalent to small war, battles. So guerrilla marketing is extremely really popular among small business because it can reach out to a large amounts of people without spending a lot of monies. Right. So guerrilla marketing has also been utilized in the sports industries, primarily used in these four areas. And the first thing is people using it to promote events, try to increase brand awareness, try to catch people's attentions. And a lot of time they also try to use guerrilla marketing in promoting when you introduce a brand new product to the market, you would like to give people a surprise. So you would like to use guerrilla marketing. And a lot of times when we try to send out the environmental messages, guerrilla marketing could be very straightforward and also help people to build that connections. So one of the examples here, Nike's has been using this very interesting market strategy to help people to understand the importance of to protect our current environments. Right, so that's another way how guerrilla marketing has been utilized. And the last way the guerrilla marketing has been utilized in sport is when other companies they would like to use sports to push their products to let more people to be aware of these products. So now let's go and look at watch our very short videos. In these short videos, you got some idea of how guerrilla marketing could create very interesting topics and catch people's attentions. So this advertising is made by the Coca-Cola happiness machine. Okay, so this is a very interesting examples of the guerrilla marketings. So from these short videos, what made this marketing strategy was so successful was people really don't know what kind of thing they're able to get out from that vending machine, right? From this guerrilla marketing example, you can see initially from the vending machine, people normally would just put the coins, put some monies using a credit card, and get some like fast food. Sometimes for using this example, get the Coca-Cola, right, and some other products, right? So that's what people's customers' expectations. However, in these examples, starting from the first customer, and remember the girls, initially she was just planning to get 1 bottles of Coke, and she ended up getting like 5 or 6 bottles of Coke. So people were really surprised. Particular other customer who are not initially planning to buy anything from that vending machines. And then other customers who would like to go and try to see what kind of thing they can end up getting from that vending machine. You can see later on people can get like toys, people can get pizzas, people can get big sandwiches. So they give people a lot of really big surprise. So can actually really catch people's attentions, right? And also very entertaining, right? So this is one of a very good example of the guerrilla marketing. So for the guerrilla marketing, it has some advantage, right? So first of all, it's very cheap, low cost. Even small business is affordable. Second thing is when you try to create a guerrilla marketing strategy, you need to try to be creative, try to develop connections with the business, right? So just like the previous one we were looking at, the Nike was using the marketing strategy, try to promote the environmental protections, the message they try to communicate with the all customers, right? And for this one, the video that we just watched is also very unique, right? Because that really very unique vending machine can give you a lot of surprise from a customer's perspective, right? So surprise is also the third advantage, is the open product from nowhere, right? And last one is we say keep it simple and stupid. For guerrilla marketing, because the cost is very low, so you need to make sure the message you try to communicate with your customers is very straightforward, very simple, sometimes very stupid, right? People can be entertaining by you, and also people can very easy to understand what you're trying to communicate with them, right? Can really help you to increase your brand awareness, either the products of the organizations itself. So this is a guerrilla marketing. Right? So in sports organization, we have something called ambush marketing. So ambush marketing is kind of unique, not really happen in other business, mainly in the sports organizations. For the ambush marketing, what's ambush marketing? So ambush marketing refers to a situation in which a company or product seeks to capitalize on the popularity of the event without having contributed to the financing of this event through the sponsorships. So this is a definition. Basically, it's talking about for these non-sponsors. These non-sponsors, they want to associate themselves with those really popular sporting events. So they're trying to use something called ambush marketing strategies to promote themselves and try to make sure they're able to associate with these events. They can sometimes create some confusions to the customers, right? Let customers realize the connections between these non-sponsors and the events, right? So one of the example that I'm showing you here is, people all know about Shaun White, right? Really well-known winter sports athletes. Shaun White won 3 times Olympic gold medalist at the Winter Olympic Games. Is really well-known snowboarders in the world. So Target is basically not the Olympic sponsors. However, during the 2010 Winter Olympic Games, 2010 Winter Olympic Games took place in Vancouver, Canada, right, during the 2010 Winter Olympic Games. So Target announced a very interesting marketing campaign in Times Square, New York City, right? So they have these advertising at the Times Square, New York City. So in this advertising, you can see they feature Shaun White, feature winter sport, and they also say here and behind here, they say good luck in Vancouver, right? So the entire message, they did not mention about the Winter Olympic Games, right? But they only say good luck in Vancouver and feature winter sports athletes, right? And also this marketing campaign has been launched during the Winter Olympic Games. So for the customer, if you have seen this advertising, it's very easy for you to target this brand with the Olympic Games, right? Because you have the Olympic athletes in your advertising. You talk about the Olympic hosting city of Vancouver, and also this marketing campaign also happen to be during the Winter Olympic Games. So people can very easy to make that connections, right? So they can really easy to target this brand when people think about the Olympic Games. So this is a really good example for the ambush marketings. So one of the most famous ambush marketing strategies and the examples that back to 1992 Summer Olympic Games. So this is so well known. This example was so well known in the world. Every time when people talk about ambush marketing, they will always talk about how Michael Jordan's in Nike tried to use ambush marketing strategies to confuse the customers. Some people, if you watch the Olympic Games, 1992 Olympic Games that took place in Barcelona, Spain, it was really interesting because that was the first time the NBA players was able to play at the Olympic Games, because the Olympic Games, from history, they try to promote themselves as an amateur sporting event, providing opportunity for the amateur athletes participating in the Olympic Games, right? But starting from 1988, some professional tennis players started to play the Olympic Games, and 1992 was a big news, was the first dream teams that feature with all these really well-known NBA players. They were playing the Olympic Games. That including Michael Jordan. From the picture, you can see P-Pongs, and also including others and really well-known NBA player at that time. So for the USA men's basketball teams, that was a very easy competition for them. So they destroy every opponents and they win the title very easily. So after winning the Olympic gold medals, so all these athletes will have to go in and present at the Olympic Games ceremonies. So at that time, the U.S. Olympic Committee, so the entire Team USA, was actually sponsored by Reebok. So based on the contract between the U.S. Olympic committees and Reebok, is all the American athletes, you have to wear Reebok's uniforms presented at the Olympic Games ceremonies, press conferences, right? So those are the requirements. However, Michael Jordan, he has been sponsored by Nike for many years. So from Michael Jordan's perspective, he obviously have no interest in promoting other brands, particularly these brands happen to be his main sponsors' rivalries, right? So he has no interest to sponsor these, to promote other brands. So what Michael Jordan did was during the medal ceremonies. So he went to the podiums and used a U.S. national flag to cover the Reebok logos on his keys. So the way he did became very controversial at that times. Because Reebok spent a lot of money to try to associate themselves with these USA Olympic teams. So all the athletes have to wear their uniforms to present at any of the public events, right? So, but what Michael Jordan did was definitely significantly impact the benefit that has been received by the sponsor Reebok. So Reebok is not really happy. Starting from that accidents, U.S. Olympic committees made a decision. They say all the Olympic athletes in the future, regardless what kind of the brand you has been sponsored by, so you are required to wear the uniforms at any kind of public events, and also make sure all those uniforms you have to show the logo to the general publics. So this is one of the really famous ambush marketing example in the Olympic histories. So for the ambush marketing, it has some attributes. The first attribute is all these ambush marketing activities or strategies. So those are involve a plan attack. So you need to develop a plan ahead of that to make sure your ambush marketing strategies could reach the outcome that you are expecting to reach. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, so for the ambush marketing strategy, they're more likely has been utilized by these direct marketing competitors for these official sponsors. For instance, when Coca-Cola became the Olympic sponsors, become the FIFA World Cup sponsors, Pepsi's, they're trying to use a different type of strategies, try to associate themselves with these two of the biggest sporting events in the world. So some students might remember every World Cups. So Pepsi normally will sign a contract with a lot of high-profile soccer stars around the world, like David Beckham, like Leo Messi. So always feature them in their advertising, right? So the goal, the thing what Pepsi trying to do is to also catch the people's attention, because FIFA World Cup has been watched by billions of the audience all around the world. So being able to associate with such a big events around the world can really help the brand like Pepsi to promote themselves internationally, right? So this is also very common examples by them. And the goal for them to develop ambush marketing strategy is they hope they're able to catch people's attentions and also driven away the attention from the official sponsors. Right, and also compared to sponsorships, for the ambush marketing strategy normally is much cheaper. Right, being the bigger event sponsors, normally it's very, very expensive. So using ambush marketing strategy, that will be a lot cheaper, which can also help them reach to the result they're expecting to reach. So question is like why the companies would like to use the ambush marketing behaviors. One of the reasons is because the cost of the sponsorship fees are so high right now in this point. So one of the examples is Budweiser in 2014. So they signed a contract with Chicago Cubs for 10 years, and they spent like $15 million for 10 years. So that's pretty expensive, right? I think last year, so one of my friend who's currently in Spain right now, so he was helping WTA, which is Women Tennis Association, to look for title sponsors for the entire Women Tennis Association. The WTA is a tour, right? So every year the event has been played at the 50, 60 cities around the world throughout the years. That's women tennis tournaments events. So they were looking for title sponsors as well. I remember my friend told me they say the sponsor they're trying to target, so they have to pay $15 million for 5 years. So we talk about the prices are very, very high. Events like the Olympics, and the FIFA World Cup, because these two events are the only international events, currently sports events existing in the world that can really attract people's attentions. Right, Olympic Games, you attract attentions for all around the world because you have more than 200 countries and nations, and they're able to go in and participate in this event. So the event has also been broadcast by more than 180 countries. Right, so the attention is really, really high. So a lot of companies want to associate with the events like FIFA World Cup and the Olympic Games. So the price they set for are also incredibly high. Right, for the Olympic game, for instance, IOC does have the Olympic sponsorship program called TOP program. So the TOP programs currently only have like 12 spots, so only open to 12 companies around the world. So many companies really want to become the Olympic top sponsors, right? So they have to spend not just millions, but $1 billion to become the Olympic top sponsors for 4 years, and then they're able to associate themselves with the Olympic Games and try to promote themselves internationally, right? P&G, for instance, is one of the Olympic top sponsors right now, right? And other companies like Coca-Cola has been sponsored Olympic Games for many, many years. McDonald's has been sponsored Olympic Games for like 40 years, but they decided to drop from the sponsorships a few years ago, right? So because it's very, very expensive, right? So not all the companies are able to afford to become this kind of event sponsors. So they say, well, since I cannot become the sponsor of this kind of events, I cannot really associate with this event very closely. So we're going to use another way, which is ambush marketing strategies. Right. And the second thing is they talk about sports organization normally have some restrictions in terms of numbers of sponsors, or they have a special requirements in terms of the sponsorships. For instance, in each of the categories, they only allow to have one company. They cannot have two company in each of the categories. So give you an example. If Coca-Cola is the sponsors of your events, obviously in the contract they say you are exclusive sponsors, right? So other competitive brands like Pepsi's, right, and other brands, Dr. Pepper's, right? So you cannot ask them. You can also sponsor your events, whatever levels, right? So they have normally is very strict in terms of how many sponsors they need to have, and also each of the category they only allow to have one company to become the official sponsors, right? So that's why who will be more likely to use ambush marketing strategies are those sponsors, their main rival, main competitors in the markets, right? So they don't have these opportunities, right? So then they have to use ambush marketing strategies, right? So, and also the last thing is because the customer are not often offended by the ambush marketers. So just look at the example we talked about previously, the Target's example, right? We talked about previously, like people just easily connect, Target with the Olympic Games because this marketing campaign that took place during the Olympic Games. But people are not feeling that's offense by that because customer, they care less about who are the main sponsor of these kind of events, right? They only care about, what brands could produce better products or what benefit they're able to obtain from those companies, right? So this is the why they would like to ambush during these major events. And we talk about why, and the next question we try to understand is how these marketers can ambush these major events, how they're able to associate with this major event, although they're not the official sponsors. So for the ambush marketing strategy, there are so many different types of strategies. So all these strategy can be classified into 3 types of strategy. So one strategy is called direct ambushing. So basically it's talking about a non-sponsor brand will aggressively to associate themselves with this event and property, right? So one of the example is a Pepsi, right? Pepsi, they say Pepsi is an unofficial sponsor of the 2014 FIFA World Cups, right? So this is very aggressive because for most of the ambush marketer, they are not going to use the event's logo because they do have a lot of rules. For instance, Olympic Games, right? If you're not the Olympic official sponsors, you cannot mention about yourself about the Olympics. You cannot use the word Olympic Games, right? This word, you cannot use these terms, right? You cannot talk about like 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games. You can't use these terms to promote yourself, right? So this is pretty aggressive because they are not just talking about the events, but also using events logos in their marketing promotions, right? This is called direct ambushing. Very, very aggressive, right? We talk about majority of the ambush marketing. They try not to be very aggressive because if they be so aggressive, they can really make the event organizer very, very angry, and they'll be very likely to cross some of the lawsuits, which they don't really want to get into, right? This is called direct ambushing. And the second one is called indirect ambushing. So indirect ambushing is talking about association with the event is made, but their motives are not to attack the official sponsor's plan. So when they're trying to associate themselves with the Olympic Games, they're trying not to attack the other rivalries. So one of the examples is a Speedo. Speedo is a really well-known swimming suits in the world, right? So for the Olympic Games in 2008 and 2012, so Nike was actually the main sponsor for the Olympic Games in terms of the uniforms have to be wear during the Olympic Games, right? But Speedo is very, very good at producing a really good swimming suits, particularly during the 2008 Olympic Games, 2012 Olympic Games, and 2016 Olympic Games. So these athletes, when they're wearing Speedo swimming suit, they normally can swim much faster and breaking a lot of world record, catch people's a lot of attention. So a lot of swimmer, right, they try to wear Speedo swimming suit because the high tech help athletes really swim much faster than before, so they can catch your attention, right? So this is become ambush marketing strategies. But this ambush marketing we talk about is indirect ambushing. It's not very, very aggressive, right? They use this association with the Olympic Games to catch people's attentions. And the last one is called unintentional ambushing. Is when customers associate with the ambusher brand with this event without any attack by the ambusher to do so. So a lot of time, a brand got really popular and famous, which is not planned by the marketers. So one of the example is Beats headphones. So Beats headphone is actually not sponsoring any of the athletes during the Olympic Games, and they were not planning to use Olympic Games to promote their brands. However, a lot of athletes like wearing these Beats headphones during the games. So you find out when you watch the Olympic Games, you find out a lot of athletes wearing the headphones. So people will be really curious why this headphone become so popular among these athletes. So they really help this brand to promote, right? So this is called unintentional ambushings, right? So this is some of the strategies. So let's look at some of other strategies, are very common strategies. For the direct ambush marketing strategies, that is something called predatory ambushing. So predatory ambushing is for those ambush marketers, they're trying to really target these official sponsors and try to confuse customers. Customers are really confused in terms of who are actually the real sponsors of these events. So one of the examples is a 1994 Winter Olympic Games that took place in Lillehammer in Norway. So American Express was not the Olympic sponsors, but Visa was. Visa still is the Olympic top sponsors, right? So, but American Express during their marketing campaign, so they send out a message. They say, if you're traveling to Norway, you just need a passport, but you don't need a visa. So in their advertising slogan, so this visa has two particular meanings, right? Has double meanings here. First meaning is that their main rival visa. The second meaning is, so another visas, another meaning is the permissions of going to another countries, right? Because American citizens when you have American passports, due to the relationship between US and Norway are very, very good. So you don't need to apply for the visa and go into Norway to watch the games, right? But some other countries, if they travel to Norway, they might need to apply for the visa first before buying the tickets and going to Norway to watch the games. So in this advertisement, obviously, they strongly attack the main rivalry visa, right? So this created a big controversial at that time back to 1994. Right, so that's one of the example, direct ambush marketing example. Another example about ambush marketing strategy, this is indirect, is a lot of companies, they decided to sponsor media coverages. So for some of the organization, they realize I am not the official sponsors of this event. So what I can do is I can sponsor something that kind of related to these events. So one of the things they always like to do is, for instance, like NFL, every year when the Super Bowl would are broadcast on one particular TV channels, right? So some people decided to buy like 15-second commercials during the Super Bowl games to try to promote themselves, right? Using the commercial, these opportunities to try to build up the connection between the brands and the MFLs, although they're not the official sponsor. So they decide to buy the time, commercial times during these events. So people can also really confuse about whether they are the official sponsors or not, right? For the ambush marketing strategy, another one is ambush marketing always try to sponsor the SAP categories. So instead of sponsoring the entire event, so we decided to sponsor one particular athletes, national teams, or national federations. One of the examples we talked about previously was the FIFA World Cups has been sponsored by Adidas, right? Nike, Reebok. How could those companies associate themselves with the FIFA World Cup? Is they don't sponsor the event itself, but they sponsor particular teams, right? So Nike every year they sponsor at least 10 teams who are qualified for the FIFA World Cup. So other events like Pumas, Reeboks, they try to sponsor 1 or 2 teams during the FIFA World Cups. So during the FIFA World Cups, also every FIFA World Cups, there were a lot of discussion about whether this year's Adidas team is going to win the FIFA World Cups or Nike's team is going to win the FIFA World Cups, right? So they really create some topic and discussions can really help Nikes. So they try to sponsor subcategory instead of the entire events. And last example I'm showing to you is those thematic advertisings, right? So for Subway, which is also not the Olympic sponsors, so they can feature some Olympic athletes during their advertisings and commercials, which can also connect their brand with the Olympic Games, target the Olympic audiences. So those are some of the strategies and examples for the ambush marketing. So ambush marketing sometimes can also create a lot of big issue and troubles. One of the example is Bentona, who used to play for Arsenal, a really well-known Danish soccer players. So I think it's during the 2010 and 2011. So that was like European Championships. That's one match. So Bentona, in order to promote the Party Powder, which is underwear brand, so after he scored, he showed the logo, show his underwear to the audience in order to promote his brands. So which also caused him to be fined by, I think, 100,000 euros because of that. But that was like ambush marketing strategies. And also another time we might watch sports news all the time. We see some fans kind of crazy, right? They just go into the stadium naked, completely naked, but they're wearing a particular brands, which is also an ambush marketing strategy. Very stupid, straightforward, but catch people's attention, right? It's pretty funny. People always like to watch how the referee or how those police that try to chase down those naked fans who break into the stadiums. Right, so those are also strategy. Another example is also from the FIFA World Cup is this is a Dutch beer brand. So every FIFA World Cup, so they've been to some of these games. So they just set the same So because they're Dutch brand, so they wear the orange color, so they just have the same. And so also catch a lot of people's attention because, you know, FIFA World Cups, these cameras always want to catch some of the very interesting fans, right? When those all beautiful hot girls over there is wearing this, dressing the same, so it always catch people's attention. Cameras' attentions can really help the brand to promote themselves as well. So this is also the ambush marketing strategies. So using ambush marketing strategy have some positive, right? They can really help you to create the brand awareness and also enhance the brand's recognition, because brands could be appearing in multiple different places and can target these unexpected customers. And also the most important thing is low cost compared to the sponsors. But having the ambush marketing could also might have some negative impacts. So what the negative impact could you think of? I'll give you about 10 seconds to think about it. Okay, so some of the negative impact for the ambush marketer, first of all, it might create some of the very unhealthy competitive environments, right? Because a sponsor, they do pay a lot of money in order to associate themselves with these sports properties. So they should have all the rights to promote themselves, but this may create some very unhealthy competitive environments. They also might decrease the commercial value of these events. Right, so in the past, a sports property say, I'm going to sell this sponsorship to this organization for this price. But since other companies are able to create a lot of ambush marketing activity to associate with this event, they can really reduce the commercial price of these events. And the third thing is it degrades the abilities of the event organizers to attract more sponsors, right? Since the events might be utilized by a lot of ambush marketers to promote the other brands. A lot of event organizers could be harder for them to attract like sponsors, right? So for the ambush marketing, really common at the Olympic Games, which also attract a lot of attentions during the Olympic Games. A lot of people were talking about it during the Olympic Games. So to address these issues, IOC, which is the International Olympic Committee, they try to introduce different regulations in order to protect their official sponsors' interests and also try to target the ambush marketing. So one of the examples is in 1997, the IOC initiated a rule that require all the Olympic hosting city must acquire the right to all these advertising spaces, such as billboards, poster advertising on the public transport, and all the paintings on the buildings within the city limits during the game. So if the city is hosting the game, so Tokyo, when they're hosting the Olympic Games in 2021, so Tokyo need to have all these right for their main advertising spaces. Make sure all these main advertising spaces are being utilized by the Olympic sponsors, not these non-Olympic sponsors, and try to ambush them, right? So this is the one of example what strategy IOC has trying to do. And IOC is also trying to do is they try to prevent any of other non-sponsors using his trademarks and other intellectual properties that include you cannot promote yourself during your advertising. You cannot mention about Olympics, cannot mention about Olympic Games, cannot even use the word games in your advertising. Right, so that's the one strategy they use. And the second thing they find out, a lot of athletes, they do have their personal sponsors, so they would like to use the Olympic Games or other events as an opportunity to appreciate the support from their personal sponsors. So a lot of athletes actually during the event, they try to promote their personal sponsors. So IOC is also trying to introduce some rules, try to prevent these personal sponsors to capitalize on the popularity of the Olympic Games. So they introduced something called IOC Rule 40. It was introduced in 2011, right? So for the Rule 40, so basically they say, except as permitted by the IOC Executive Board, so none of the competitors, team official, and other team personnel who participate in the Olympic Games might allow his names, persons, pictures, or sports performance to be utilized for the advertising purpose during the Olympic Games. So basically, they try to prevent athletes to really promote their personal sponsors, particularly when their personal sponsors are not the Olympic official sponsors. So they try to use this, right, to prevent athletes from doing it. But as a marketers, we always try to be creative. If we are not the official sponsors, but we sponsor athletes who compete at the Olympic Games, so we could, use some of the very unique strategies, right? For instance, when athletes winning Olympic gold medals, we can use like social media or other media platforms to congratulate our athletes, right? So those are a strategy has been broadly utilized by the ambush marketers, right? So these are some of the strategy has been utilized by the IOC try to target the ambush marketings. For all these ambush marketers, there are some basic rules when they're creating successful ambush marketing strategies. So there are some rules that I want people to consider, right? The first things is try not to breach the intellectual property law, right? Particularly, we'll talk about IOC, introduce the rule and regulation mention you cannot really mention about Olympic Games in your advertisings. So try to do something unique and different. So one of a pretty interesting examples here, right? During the 2012 London Olympic Games, this is a London subway, an underground station. That's an Olympic venues, right? So that's the brands. They say official sponsors of the largest athletic events in London this year, right? So for the entire marketing campaign, did not really mention about London 2012, right? Because this advertising campaign just happened to be at the Olympic venue, this one stop called Olympic venues, right? And also just happened during the Olympic Games. So everyone know what the largest athletic events in London is gonna be, right? So this is actually a pretty smart way in how you are able to associate yourself with the Olympic Games, also not to mention about the Olympic Games, right? Don't call yourself a sponsor if you're not, right? If you call yourself a sponsor, you can create a lot of trouble and issues, right? And also some major event also have some additional rule. We'll talk about the Olympic Games does have some additional rules, right? And also understand one thing, ambush marketing is legal, right? Nothing is not legal, it's illegal, but sometimes maybe it's not quite ethical, right? When we talk about this not ethical behavior, is from an event's perspective. It's also from sponsors' perspective, because sponsor will pay a lot of money to associate myself with these events, right? So it's unethical from a sponsor's perspective. But from this non-sponsor perspective, right? No, that just not a marketing strategies, right? And the last thing we're going to talk about is some of the strategy how we are able to protect sponsors' rights. So there are two main strategy has been utilized lately, and the first one is talking about a sports property. A lot of time they require the broadcaster right holders to provide the official sponsor the right of the first refusals to purchasing the advertising being the broadcasters. We talk about one of the very common strategies utilized by non-sponsors is I would like to advertising myself during these events on the official broadcasters, right? So this one is telling you, you can, when you sign a contract with this official broadcaster, you could allow them to communicate with the official sponsor first. So for instance, like Coca-Cola is the official sponsors, right? So when Pepsi want to broadcast their commercial during these major events, so the broadcaster need to ask Coca-Cola whether it's okay. No, we can sell this advertising a commercial time to Pepsi. If Pepsi say Coca-Cola say no, and you can talk to Coca-Cola say, oh, if you don't allow Pepsi, can you buy this commercial slot during the events, right? So this is one strategy. The second strategy is the sports property always negotiate with the host city, try to ban marketing activity that compete directly with the official sponsors. So one of the example is the MFL. So MFL during the Super Bowl week, so it has clean zones during the Super Bowl week. So when they sign a contract with the Super Bowl hosting city, so they require Super Bowl hosting city to contain this area for the official sponsors. So they say 2 miles away from the stadiums, you are not allowed to have any of these competitors' advertisings, right? So this idea and this strategy has been introduced since 2007. The goal is to try to protect your sponsors' rights. So this is about ambition marketing. So in this class, we talk about ambition marketing, right? We talk about why the organization would like to use the ambition marketing, what the benefits and what the potential problems. We also try to discuss from a very different perspective how people think about ambition marketing, right? How sponsors think about ambition marketing. And if you're an event organizer, how you're able to protect your sponsors' interest. But if you're not sponsors, how you'll be able to associate with yourself with these events by using ambition marketing strategies. So one of the last things that we would like to talk about is, so I want to go and think about, right, if you're currently running Jamie Jan, that's a restaurant in Cincinnati, and you don't have any partnership and official sponsorship with Cincinnati Beer Cups, and how would you associate yourself with this particular brand by using ambition marketing strategies, right? Particularly during the game day, football game days and basketball game days. When you try to create this particular strategy, make sure you need to be creative, low cost, and effective. Right? So I want you to go and think about this. So all right, so that's it for the ambition marketing. If you have any question about this very interesting topic, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. All right, that's it for today. I hope you have a wonderful week. I will talk to you guys next time.